Let's do it! Today we're going to talk about glucosamine. Yeah, it's not really that exciting of a subject probably for the most of you, but glucosamine is actually something a lot of people talk about, but I don't think people really understand what it is. So enter OmniFocus Fitness. Me and you are going to go on a little adventure and learn all about glucosamine. We're going to talk about dosages. We're going to talk about, is it effective? We're going to talk about how effective it is. We're going to talk about what it is. We're going to talk about all kinds of things. We're going to talk about its synthesis. We are going to talk about every little thing you might want to know about glucosamine. So, this video is probably going to be long, as usual, like it always is. But don't worry, at the end of this introduction, there is a menu system, and on that menu system you can click on the particular part of the video you would like to skip to. And if you are really lazy and you don't want to go through any part of the whole video, but you want to know the summary, the recap, then there's a summary section for you as well. So, without further ado, let's get started, shall we? Let's do it! First things first, what is glucosamine? Do you know? Probably not. That's why you're here. Well, have no fear. Glucosamine is a molecule like many other molecules, but it is very similar to a particular molecule you are probably quite familiar with. Hopefully, you've heard of glucose. Well, glucosamine is actually based off of the molecule glucose, and we'll go just a little bit into the synthesis of glucosamine, but for now, just know that glucosamine is very similar to the glucose structure, the glucose molecule structure, and the only real big difference is that it has an amine group attached to it, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as well in the synthesis section of this video. But just know that it has an amine group attached to basically a glucose molecule. A little bit different, but for the most part, that's a really simple way of looking at it. So you got glucose and this amine group, glucosamine. All right? So that's one thing. It's also described as an amino monosaccharide, and that makes sense because you've got an amine group and a monosaccharide, which glucose, it's a monosaccharide. I've got a video on it. Check it out. That's it. That's all you need to know. I just wanted to give you a basis for what glucosamine is. It isn't some synthetic, some weird compound that laboratories from, planet Mars came up with. It's real. It's a molecule. It's a chemical, a natural chemical, perfectly normal. See all the time. All right, so let's go on. Actually, I lied. Let's not go on quite yet. I forgot to quick mention something. We're going to be talking about glucosamine sulfate, which is the most popular, widely the most popular, and the most researched glucosamine form, and it's the form that you probably see in most stores. So we're covering glucosamine sulfate, not glucosamine hydrochloride or N-acetyl glucose, something like that. That's another product of glucosamine. We're not going to go over that. We're just going over glucosamine sulfate. If you'd like to know why, check out the article. I kind of discuss it, reasons why we're going to be discussing glucosamine sulfate. But the biggest one is that because it is the most popular and the most studied, and might be, hopefully, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but it might be the most effective as well. Now let's move on. Okay, so what does it do? The idea is that glucosamine slows down the degeneration of cartilage. So in your knees, in your hips, and in your spine. The cartilage specifically in those areas, which are extremely important, of course. Glucosamine is touted to slow down the degeneration, and we will go into if it really does that and how effectively, if it does, how effectively it does that, as well as the dosage to see that effect. But that's basically it. There are some people that like to say that glucosamine might even reverse the process of osteoarthritis, so the degradation of cartilage. I'm going to go ahead and say right now that's not the case. It might slow it down, and we'll talk about that. Or it might not, and we'll talk about that. But it does not reverse, okay? So it's not that good. It won't reverse the effects of osteoarthritis. How does glucosamine, at least what is the thought process as to why glucosamine might reduce the degradation of cartilage? Well, glucosamine stimulates the synthesis of proteoglycans. And then proteoglycans are made by the chondrocytes. Yeah, you might think I'm talking Star Trek language, but I'm not. Proteoglycans are basically big protein molecules with carbohydrates attached to them. And they make up a part of the cartilage. So not only that, but the cartilage is made up, as far as extracellular area, is made up partly by proteoglycans. It's kind of a sticky substance, and it kind of molds together to make this cartilage in your knees, as well as, throughout your entire body. Now, the actual cells that are responsible for the creation of proteoglycans and the use of glucosamine to create proteoglycans are called chondrocytes. Chondrocytes are also located in the cartilage, and I'll hopefully just stick a picture up here so you can look at it. I mean, what's science if you can just talk about it, which is cool, but I'd love to just see it. So, bam! Picture. Yeah, okay, so now you saw a picture of it, and that's it. I mean, that's how it works. Glucosamine activates proteoglycan synthesis in the chondrocytes, which then leads to more anabolic effect and creates cartilage. Basically, we're creating cartilage. Okay, what are sources of glucosamine? Now, I did mention earlier that glucosamine is a lot like glucose with an amine group, glucosamine. Okay, now let's talk about that a little bit. Well, the reason why that's important is because our body actually creates glucosamine. I know, it creates glucosamine itself. It synthesizes endogenously. Hopefully you know that word by now because I use it quite a bit, because our body creates a lot of things. So endogenously within the body, that's what that means, within the body, it creates glucosamine from glucose plus the amino acid called glutamine, glucose, glucosamine. Another aspect is, of course, you can supplement glucosamine. And you might be asking yourself, well, why? Why would I want to do that if your body's already creating it? Well, that's when it comes into, let's talk about catabolism and anabolism. So basically the breakdown and the buildup of a substance. In this case, we're talking about cartilage. So early on in your life, your body's synthesizing glucosamine, and it is synthesizing more than it is breaking down. Okay? Here's our little graph. Pretty terrible. Building more than breaking down. Then, as we age, this starts, oh, shit. Oh, things are evening out. Oh, crap. Right around 45, 50 years old, you start having more catabolism. You start breaking down more than you start building. So that's because your body needs help. And the idea is that if you then supplement glucosamine, okay, you're still, like I've already mentioned, You're not going to suddenly go back into anabolism where you're building more cartilage faster than you're breaking it down, but you could even that out to a point where you're almost even, but you can mitigate a lot of that loss by supplementing with glucosamine, or at least that's the idea, and we'll talk about that in the next section. So supplementing wise, yes, you can supplement exogenously, so outside of the body. Going in is exogenous glucosamine supplementation of glucosamine sulfate. Glucosamine sulfate, that's the one you want. And the body can also create it. And it doesn't just stop, once it reaches 45, 50 years old. It just becomes less efficient at using glucose and glutamine to create glucosamine. Now, just a quick tidbit. I haven't mentioned this in my article, but most likely, taking in a ton of glutamine, somebody might ask, okay, well then I'll just take in a bunch of glutamine. No, your body doesn't like to just randomly start expending energy for random synthesis. No, if you have an overabundance of something, it's probably just going to excrete it or use it for something else. Just because you take in glutamine does not mean that suddenly your cartilage is suddenly going to be much better because you're taking in glucose and you're taking in glutamine. It doesn't work that way. But glucosamine itself, we'll see if that has an effect in the next section. I've kind of given it away, I feel like. Anyways, moving on. How effective is it? It's not. Whoa. Oh, did I just shock you? I'm sorry. Well, it's really not. It's not effective at all. Well, for pain management, it's not effective. Now, there have been several studies that have been done on pain management, and they've kind of ranged all over the place. But there has been a review of all of the studies related to pain management and osteoarthritis and glucosamine supplementation, and it's not very conclusive, to the point where you might just as well say it's not more than doubtful that glucosamine is useful for pain. I would say, at least based off of my research, and of course you can check back after me, it's not very effective for actual pain management. However, as far as the actual physical benefits, there are physical benefits to glucosamine supplementation based off of the research that I've looked at, and I've looked at a decent amount. Again, all linked in the article that I have written below on the topic. In terms of actual physical benefit and the reduction of osteoarthritis, we're just going to move on. Talking about osteoarthritis, it does slow down the degradation of cartilage significantly, as a matter of fact. It does not reverse it, as I've already mentioned before, but it does significantly reduce it. I think it was something, I don't know, like it has a pretty massive impact. The exact numbers are linked or put in my article, so just check that out. But it does have a pretty significant impact. So yes, glucosamine supplementation is a fantastic idea if you are in a healthy population. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. Okay, as far as dosages, we are talking about taking 1,500 milligrams a day, every day, from right around the age of 45 to 50, maybe a little bit younger if you're an athlete, if you're a runner. High impact exercise can have kind of detrimental effect if you're not careful, if you don't take care of yourself. It can have a detrimental effect, especially repetitive, extremely repetitive, everyday, high impact exercise. But usually, let's just focus on age related. 45 to 50 years old, you're going to want to start supplementing with about 1,500 milligrams of glucosamine. That's what all the studies have looked at. Could it be a little bit less? Yeah, maybe. But 1,500 milligrams is a good number to go for. As far as athletes, they can even go a little higher. We're talking like 2 grams, so about 2,000 milligrams, all the way up to 3 grams, so 3,000 milligrams. in that case, yeah, athletes could use a little more glucosamine in their system to help with the constant wear and tear that they put on their joints, specifically their knees. Okay, yeah, I know, I've done research and I know a lot about it now, which is great, but please consult your physician before taking any of this advice to heart. This isn't really advice, it's just kind of information. It's just to educate you. Please go see your physician. I really don't want to get screwed over. So, as far as safety, glucosamine has been considered relatively safe overall. The worst symptoms if you're a healthy population, like if you don't have like diabetes or something, or some severe illness of chronic illness, in that case, then glucosamine is probably safe. And the worst thing that's going to happen to you is you might have a little bit of stomach discomfort. That's the worst thing that's going to happen to you. Now, as far as if you're allergic to shells, seashells, seafood, so seafood that has shells, then yeah, definitely consult your physician about that, because glucosamine, when they actually make the supplement, sometimes it's synthetically made in a laboratory, and other times it is extracted from actual seashells. So you could have an allergic reaction. It's possible. I don't know how likely that is, but it is possible, so definitely consult your physician. Also, there's some debate if it maybe impedes insulin, so if you're diabetic, you know, you definitely check out your physician. Honestly, anybody that's... Everybody go check with your physician. That's the bottom line. Just check in with your physician before you hop on any glucosamine or really any supplements, or really change anything in your diet, because I want to be safe for your sake and my sake, and my dog's sake. This is the summary of the video for those of you that need a quick recap. If not, please subscribe and check out the attached article. Okay, in summary, for you lazy bastards that don't want to go through the entire video, I got you covered. It's all good in the hood. Okay, we're talking about glucosamine. We're talking about glucosamine sulfate specifically. This whole video, this whole article is dedicated to glucosamine sulfate because glucosamine sulfate is the most popular form. It is the most studied form. Now, as far as what glucosamine does, it helps in rebuilding the cartilage. It does that by activating synthesis of certain proteins to then rebuild cartilage between your knees, spine, and hips. So really three most important areas. It has been touted to reduce osteoarthritis. It does not, however, reduce osteoarthritis pain. So if you have a degradation of cartilage and you're feeling pain, glucosamine does not have conclusive evidence, although there are several studies that say yes it does. There are other studies that say no it does not. So overall we're just going to say no, it does not reduce pain. However, it does have physical benefits, and right around the age of 45 to 50 years old you will want to supplement with glucosamine, as glucosamine will then significantly slow down the degradation of your cartilage, which means then you'll probably end up being pain-free or have mitigated pain later on down the road, which is nice. As far as the dosage, you should be taking in about 1,500 milligrams per day, right around the age 45, 50 years old. If you're an athlete and you do high impact repetitive exercise, running for example, or sprinting, whatever it is, then you can go up to about 2 to 3 grams, so 2,000 to 3,000 milligrams per day. And as far as the safety of glucosamine, there isn't much to be worried about. Of course, always consult your physician before making any changes to your diet or supplement routine. However, glucosamine for healthy populations, the worst that is probably going to happen is you'll have a little bit of stomach discomfort, and that is the very worst. Likely won't happen in anyways, and do take it with food. As far as other populations, there are some issues, especially if you have shellfish allergies, since some glucosamine supplements are taken from shellfish, so seafoods, shellfish. And that is the video. That's all you need to know. Of course, if you want to know more details, just back up through this video. And if you want to know even more details, if you want to look at my sources, please check out the article that I have worked my ass off for in the about box. No, the description box. That's what I'm talking about. In the description box, I've got my article linked, and it is, of course, all free information, and I go into far more detail. As far as, I think for this article, I had 16 sources listed. So I get right to the point, and I have a lot of fantastic information in there, if I do say so myself. So without further ado, hopefully you found the video informative, and if you did, please subscribe to my channel. It absolutely motivates me. Hopefully I'll hit 100 subscribers sometime in the next week or two. That would be really humbling, honestly. That would be awesome. And we will continue on from there. I will see you in the next video. I hope you have a good day. I know I will. I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty peppy right now. All right, let's go. See ya.